This is Fox Explain. Laura's counselors enjoy each other's company in bed. They are happy. The two of them feel good together. Meanwhile, in the Mexican backwoods, the lower ranks of the drug cartel are preparing a new shipment to the United States. They pack the drugs into barrels and load them into a fall truck. In the desert, the cheetah's hare hunt is being watched by Rainer and his new pastor Malkina. The girl is cold and centered. Deep down, Rainer is a little afraid of her. While in Amsterdam, the counselor goes to a jeweler to buy a diamond and order an engagement ring for Laura. He wants to propose to her. The counselor chooses a good diamond without saving any money. After all, he will soon have enough cash to cover all possible expenses. He just has to make a deal with Rainer. After ordering the ring, the counselor goes to Rainer's house. There's a party at his house. Rainer, who owns several nightclubs, really enjoys a good party. He greets his companion warmly and they exchange some pleasantries before getting down to business. However, the counselor is concerned about the possibility of being overheard. Rainer attempts to find out from the counselor how frequently he intends to engage in this kind of business. But the counselor responds that this is just a one-time venture for him. He only wants to make a quick profit and then get away with it. Rainer has heard something similar to this many times before, and then people often get drawn in. Therefore, he warns the counselor. He explains an intriguing method to eliminate unwanted individuals. It's known as bolitha. They place a mechanical ligature around the victim's neck. A robust metal cord is threaded through a tightening device. Once initiated, it becomes extremely challenging to halt. In approximately 3 to 4 minutes, the noose tightens, causing the cord to sever the person's head. It's true. He dies early when Schnur cuts his carotid artery. Despite the warning and the vivid description, the counselor remains steadfast. He is determined to proceed. After his meeting with Rainer, he goes to dinner with Laura. During this time, he proposes to her. The girl is delighted, accepting both the ring and the counselor's proposal. When Laura vacationed at Rainer's house with Malkina, she appreciated the counselor's gift. She learned that Laura is very religious and goes to confession regularly. For Malkina, Laura is a curious specimen to be used for sexual pleasures. However, Laura rejects all her unequivocal hints. After some thought, the counselor agrees to Rainer's scam because he has money problems and needs to fix them somehow. Rainer makes a promise to the counselor to set up a meeting with Westray to update him. Westray and the counselor eventually meet in a bar. Westray has just come back from a trip and has a black eye. When the counselor asks about what happened to the man who gave him the bruise, Westray explains that the man is currently being punished. It's all about principle. If you overlook it even once, people will start to lose respect for everyone in the organization where Westray is employed. Westray is quite experienced in this sort of activity already. He has numerous offshore bank accounts where he deposits his earnings. Westray mentions that this venture they've chosen to pursue is valued at around $20 million. That's quite a significant risk. Thus, Westray advises the counselor that it would be best for him not to get involved. He attempts to explain the situation to him in the clearest way possible. Nonetheless, the counselor doesn't listen. He is eager to get involved and secure his money. Westray clearly states that he has everything under control, and if anything goes wrong, he'll vanish with the money. The counselor, however, lacks such an escape plan. There's a young guy known as the Green Hornet who loves motorcycles and speed. He rides a Japanese sport bike at such high speeds that it catches the attention of the police. Eventually, one day he gets caught and arrested for speeding. Meanwhile, the kid's mother is also in jail. Her name is Ruth, and she holds a certain influence within criminal circles. Ruth is a client of the counselor, and when he visits her, she requests assistance in getting her son out of jail by paying his bail. The counselor agrees to help. The assize car manages to pass through all the checkpoints without issue and finally arrives at the temporary holding area. The driver retrieves a device from beneath the hood, a crucial component without which the car cannot start, hands it over to the mediator, collects the payment for transporting the car, and departs with his shift worker. The mediator encounters the Green Hornet after being freed from jail on the counselor's bail. The kid is revealed to be another courier for the drug cartel. The middleman gives him a device taken from a fall machine. The courier conceals it in his motorcycle helmet and departs. The device transfer is monitored from a nearby car. A man and a woman are revealed to be Malkina's accomplices. She instructs them to watch the Green Hornet. The counselor is relaxing with Laura, watching a game of polo. At that moment, Tony, an old acquaintance of the counselor, approaches them. He has a grudge against the counselor and warns Laura to be careful because she could get in trouble because of his friend. Having heard Laura's stories about confession, Malkina goes to the church to confess. but she is not baptized, so the priest refuses her confession. Stop! Where are you going? While Malkina attempted to confess, Rainer shared a story about her with the counselor. One day, he and Malkina stopped at a golf course. She pulled down her panties, climbed onto the hood of the Ferrari, spread her legs in a twine position, and did to the windshield what clingy fish often do to the walls of an aquarium. The counselor did not appreciate the story. Rainer, however, realized after this incident that Malkina was frightening him. Malkina's accomplice, who had been following the kid on the Japanese bike, came to the Yamaha showroom to measure the height of the one model the Green Hornet was riding. Then he went to the track, stretched a string between a power line support and his car, raised it to the right height, and waited. When a Green Hornet drove down this road, the man turned on the lights on the roof of the auto. The kid took his eyes off the road and raised his head, and at the same moment the string severed it from his body. The man shook the head out of his helmet, took out a gadget from it, without which the Ozonizer machine would not start, and drove away. At that moment, Ruth woke up in her jail cell, sensing that something had happened to her son. The next day, Malkina's accomplice found the right car, hooked up the device, and drove the shipment away. The counselor was at home when Westray called him and told him there was a problem. They met, and Westray showed the counselor a newspaper article about a kid who had been cut off on the highway. Head. The drug cartel men connect him to the counselor because the counselor was the one who paid his bail. The drug cartel people are not pleased at all. They've lost millions of dollars, and someone has to be held accountable for it. This includes everyone involved in the case, like Rainer and Westray. To emphasize how serious the situation was, Westray explained to the counselor about the drug cartel's execution method. He described a girl whose head was severed, and then her body was abused. The counselor realizes that something similar could happen to him. He loses his temper. Westray says he is going to go into hiding. The counselor throws away his cell phone so he can't be traced, asks for a random girl's cell phone to call Laura and ask her to stay home and not go anywhere. The accomplice, Malkins, and his accomplice are stopped by the police. However, they realize that they are not police but drug cartel men, and open fire. The fake cops fight back, but one dies. The other escapes by car. The counselor talks to Rainer about their greed and its cost. Malkina overhears. The counselor calls Laura, and she asks to meet. They agree to meet at the Boyce. Laura books a hotel room online. The fake cop brings the car to a junkyard, where the body is repaired so that no gunshot marks are visible and his wound is stitched up. Then he gets behind the wheel and drives to Chicago. Meanwhile, Rainer has been tracked down. He is cornered and killed. The counselor tries to reach him, but realizes Rainer is gone. He calls Westray, but he's already at the airport. He's about to leave the country. Laura rushed to the airport to fly to meet the counselor. The guys from the drug cartel were waiting for her. They grabbed the girl and threw her in the car. The counselor waited at the hotel for Laura until the last minute. Finally, he realizes she's been kidnapped. The counselor contacts an old lawyer who works for the drug cartel and asks for his help. The lawyer promises to help, but there is little chance that Laura will survive. The Ozonizer vehicle arrives in the U.S. where it is unloaded and the product is sent to the streets of the city. The counselor is contacted by the drug cartel. He requests a meeting, asking for Laura's release, but is told with certainty that it is impossible to save her. Even if the counselor comes in her place, gives himself in exchange for the girl, it won't change anything. Her death is a fait accompli, and there can be no other. The counselor is crushed. He doesn't want to believe that he won't see Laura again, and even more, he doesn't want to think about how she will die. Westray arrives in London. While checking into a hotel, he notices an attractive young woman. Westray has a taste for such girls, so he immediately hits on her. Having spent a pleasant time with her, he leaves. The girl meets Malkina and gives her access to Westray's bank accounts. When Westray goes for a walk, a mechanical restraint is placed around his neck. She severs his fingers, which Westray intended to use to stop the cord, then slices his carotid artery. The suitcase Westray carried is picked up by another passerby and given to Malkina. It holds the laptop Westray used for the money transfer. Now Malkina has all his savings. The counselor took a long time to get over Laura. He got drunk at a bar and struggled home. In the morning, an envelope with a disc was slipped under his door. The counselor hadn't played it, but he knew what it contained. However, he had not yet suspected that Laura's decapitated body had simply been taken to a garbage dump and dumped there. Malkina is meeting a banker at a restaurant. She is going to move to another country for a while to avoid what happened to the rest of the participants in this scam. Captain's notes.